Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I am so excited for you to meet this next guest. Virtually in front of me, I have Eric Roberts. He is a health and fitness coach, and his messaging and my messaging is very much aligned. And you're going to hear from him some really great tips for your pre and post workouts, for just knowing when to kick it up a notch, or maybe you're overtraining and knowing when to kind of slow it down, and a whole bunch of things in between. So without further ado, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
How are you doing? I'm doing super amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate you taking your time. It means a ton to me, really.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So the first question I always ask my guests is to just simply introduce yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
Awesome. So my name is Eric Roberts. I'm a health and fitness coach. I love working out and fitness way too much. Like, I have my entire life. Ever since I was like 16, I tell the story, like when the first time I ever stepped into a gym, like I left the gym, like I said to myself, I was like, okay, I'm going to do something with this every single day for the rest of my life. And then I went home and told my dad, I was like, hey dad, like, by the way, like, it was my first day at the gym, but by the way, I'm going to do this every single day. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, no, like, I love it. And then literally ever since then, it's formed into like, I just absolutely love it. It's who I am. It's built who I am. It's built my business. It's built me as a person. I cannot be more thankful for all the things it's given to me. So I love it. I love everything about it. I'm from Maryland and I currently live in Virginia. I live here by myself. I don't really know anybody. I mean, I trained in person for 3.5 years, so I know my clients and stuff, but as far as like friends and stuff, they're either like back home or in college or stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that's basically about me. And again, why I do what I do is, again, going back to like me working out, I always noticed that, and this probably happened, I would say, about 5 to 6 months in, because obviously, us, like me being a young guy, we're like, all right, cool, let's go to the gym and like get jacked. Like, yeah, it's gonna be sweet, and like build muscle. And so what would happen is like I would go train with my friends, and like I always noticed like when they hit a personal record or when they did more than they thought they could do, and like I was able to be there to push them, like that made me so incredibly happy. I cannot even begin to tell you. And to this day, that's what it does. So like, I was like, oh, like that's it right there. I'm going to be a coach. Right. So that's kind of how I got started. And again, like to this day, nothing makes me feel better than people, like whether it's clients, whether it's just people on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. They're like, hey, I did this. I never thought I could have, or like, I actually dropped the weight, or I changed my eating habits. I stopped binge eating. I'm like, it's amazing. Like, I love it so much. So yeah, that's a little, a brief kind of synopsis of how I got to where I am.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine. I can just tell your energy is very contagious. It's very up and exciting. And so I feel like everyone needs a cheerleader like you in their corner. Like your passion is very like apparent. So that's important, because I don't, unfortunately, today there's, the passion is like dim in a lot of people, and we got to pull it out of them.
And it's funny because, like, I mean, just first and foremost, like, we're all so incredibly blessed. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, I mean, you have a very good life, right? And it's like, but like, and again, probably very much like yourself, like, man, I wake up every single day and do something I love, like with all of my heart. I would not rather be doing anything else. Like 16-year-old Eric, like this is what 16-year-old Eric wanted to do. Like, so I wake up and I'm like, I'm so incredibly blessed. I coach people from Australia and England and New Zealand and Canada. And it's just like, I'm so incredibly blessed to do what I do. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's so great. I think that attitude of gratitude, it grows. So for anyone listening that might be like, no, my life's really not that great. Well, that's your first problem, right? You have to appreciate what you have if you want to have more of it. So that's important. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about kind of maybe some like common like mistakes maybe you see people make, whether it be with their nutrition or like trying to fuel for their workout, maybe some like things that people might be doing that you're like, let's probably not do that. Is there anything that comes off the top of your mind that's like a very much like a big kind of no?
I mean, a bunch of things, right? When it comes to workouts and nutrition, kind of like in a pair in particular, a few things I could think of is, number one, just simply not understanding, and this is gonna sound cliche, but like, food is fuel, in the sense of like, it literally is what you need to have energy and perform, right? So it's like these people who are trying to do very, very low calorie diets, but they're trying to do 7 hours of cardio a week and do strength training and do their spin class and do this and do that. It's like, you need to be able to fuel your workouts. And like, that's one of my biggest things about like these like low carb keto diets. It's like, listen, if that works for you, that's amazing. Like, again, everybody's individual, but it's like, if you want to be fueling workouts and you want to be having and you care about workout performance, like, carbs are great. Like, they're amazing. Like, they're going to give you fuel. They're going to give you fuel. They're going to give you energy for your workouts. They're going to allow you to push harder in your workouts. And I think that so many people think they're in this restrict mindset they're in a scarcity mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset, right? It's like, I have to cut carbs. I have to cut calories. I have to do more cardio. I have to do more workouts. And it's like, we got to find a balance in the sense of like, yeah, you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. That's great. We know that, right? But it's like, in the sense of, if you want to combine these two things and not just be in a calorie deficit and like lose body fat, but like live the best life you can and like have good energy, have good workouts, have good sleep, have good sex drive, all these things, you want to be able to say, hey, let me find a way to fuel my body for the work that I want it to do. Like, if you want to work out hard, you got to fuel for it. If you want to have these muscles and then look this way, you got to fuel for it, right? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things I would say is like people not quite understanding or honestly, I will say, being afraid to fuel themselves. And this goes to, I don't want to typecast, but especially a lot of women I work with. That's what I'll say. A lot of women I work with, they message me and they're like, I'm scared to eat more food because I do not want to get fat. And I'm like, totally understand. Like, so I think that kind of working to hopefully break that mindset of like, listen, like, you're a badass. Like, you can go lift weights. You can eat more carbs. You can eat more food. You're not going to gain a bunch of fat because like you're fueling what you want to do. So I'd say that probably first and foremost is one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Oh God, I could go down so many angles with that. Like, oh my gosh. Like this, like, yeah, there's so many stigmas too. Like, fat is not bad. We need fat on our body. And that's because of the society that we live in. Like, fat has been this word, this term, it triggers me. Like, I just got triggered, like, from my childhood. Like, that's just like, it's just the fact that that's even fear just shows you that we're living in a society that really just doesn't have their shit together. Like, excuse me, French, but like, it's a body type.
Yeah. And I hate to interrupt, but it's so funny because like I actually just did a podcast on my own and I was like, because people ask me all the time, they're like, how do I lose the last 5 or 10 pounds? Like, how do I get abs? I'm like, do you really need abs? I'm like, is it really that big of a deal for you to have abs? Because it's like what you're going to have to do to get to that point. It's like, it's for most people, it is not worth it. But yet everybody is just beating themselves up about like, if I'm a girl, I'm not 17% body fat yet. It's like, why do you want to be? Like, is it really worth it? So that's something I'm big on. It's just like, do you really need to lose the last 5 or 10 pounds? Or would you rather weigh 145 instead of 130, but your workouts kick ass, you have good energy, you're getting stronger, you have good sleep. It's like I don't think it's so short-minded in the sense of like just losing body fat. It's like, no, there's a whole scope of things you can do besides just losing body fat. Like I talk all the time, like, it's okay to have a goal of not losing body fat. That's okay. And it's okay to lose body fat, but it's also okay to increase your push-ups, increase your squat, increase your deadlift, get better with binge eating. There's other goals besides just losing weight.
100%. Amen to that. That is so true. So true. And the ironic part about it, not that you need to, but if chances are, if you kind of focus on all those other things, sometimes the side effect is weight loss. Like if that is important to you, but like it doesn't have to be either. So that was a really great point. So, okay, great. All right. So it sounds like the first thing someone needs to do to exercise and hit PRs is to fuel their body properly, right? So eat more, not less. At the same time, we know that a calorie deficit helps yield results. So actually, let's go into that because I do, as a nutrition expert in this field, but then also always trying to think about what the consumer is thinking. And I'm currently writing a book too, where I'm trying to share. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. It's really hard.
I can only imagine. Jesus, yeah.
But like, so like the one part is like, I'm really trying to share and teach that really we need to focus on self-care versus body goals. And, a side effect to that might be weight loss, but it can't be the main priority because it's just going to set you up for failure. You're always going to be disappointed, like all of that. Then at the same time, and I also talk about how restriction is not the answer, like extreme restriction, at least is not the answer. It's part of the problem. But then I have to talk about the science, right? The science of nutrition and discussing how, in order to lose weight over time, we do need to be in a calorie deficit, but it can be I'm just saying you have like one side that's saying be in a calorie deficit and then the other side that's saying avoid extreme restriction. And that's where I think because it's not so cookie cutter and so clear to the public, they get very confused. So can you help the listeners understand like what it would take for them to maybe lose some weight, but they don't have to get 6-pack abs, and what kind of calorie deficit they want to be looking towards?
Yeah, I think that is I think it's a very good point. I think it's very overlooked. I think that here's the thing. And again, like I will get people all the time in my comments, and like I read my comments. So I'm in there and I know people like, actually, I just made a video yesterday. Somebody left a comment on my TikTok saying, I only lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks. Why is it so slow? And I'm just like, that right. Well, that's slow. Right. Well, but that is like, that's the stigma around like like you don't actually understand, right? Because it's like, okay. And people, again, they're like, well, I want to lose 10 pounds in a month, or I want to lose 15 pounds in 2 months. It's like, what you're going to have to do to achieve that goal is like, there's a cost of being lean and there's a cost of losing body fat, right? Obviously the cost in total is being in a calorie deficit. But just like if you wanted to buy a Ferrari, that costs you $400,000. Like that's going to require not only more money, but also more time, more effort, less work-life balance, all those things. If you want to buy a Toyota, it's still a good car, but it's not going to cost you nearly as much. You can have a better work-life balance, all those things. So it's the same thing with dieting and nutrition. It's like, if you want to lose 10 pounds a month, like you just have to understand what that's going to take from you. And most people, because when I say, hey, okay, cool, you want to lose 10 pounds a month? Great. You have to cut out all your favorite foods. You have to not go out to eat. You have to cut out carbs. You have to add in 6 hours of cardio. They're like, wait a minute. Like, no, like I don't want that. And they're like, but they don't understand what they don't understand. That's what it takes in order to do that. So it's like, listen, just take a slower, more moderate approach. Instead of losing 3 pounds, 4 pounds a week, lose a half a pound a week. But once again, you can still get stronger in the gym. You can still enjoy your favorite foods. You can still go out socially and drink and eat. And like, will your progress be slower? I don't know nor care. But the point being, you're going to enjoy your life more. So I think just finding and understanding that there's a cost of being lean. And if you really do want to go that route, you have to understand what that takes. And I ask my clients all the time, I'm like, what do you want? What are you willing to give up? And what are you not willing to give up? In the sense of like, not like restriction terms, but just understand like there's going to be trade-offs both ways. So you have to like figure out, I don't know what's right for you, but figure out what's right for you. And normally what I've seen and what I coach my clients on normally is don't give up all these things and don't over restrict, because you're not going to like the end result in the long term. So I just think that it's a long game versus a short game mindset. And obviously in the society we live in the microwave society, you normally don't want to do that. We want things yesterday. We don't want to wait for things. So it's like, I think just kind of like setting realistic expectations from the beginning, I think is a huge, huge piece. Totally.
Yes. This is such good stuff. Guys, I hope you're listening. Okay. 2021. This is going to come out in 2021. Yes. And this is like probably going to come out like the start of 20. I don't know exactly when I'm putting this out, but it's going to be in January 2021. This is where people think of doing all of the things. All of like I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm not going to eat. I'm going to try intermittent fasting. I'm not going to eat any gluten or dairy. I'm going to do all of the things that I thought or heard was somewhat healthy. And I'm going to try to do all of them all together at one time and then expect to do it forever. Sorry, guys. I hate to tell you, but that's not going to work. It's just not. Like we're trying to save you so much wasted time. Because to your point, you mentioned like, one way is faster, one way is slower. The slower way is actually the faster.
Way. Yep. 100%. Because in the long term, because in the long term, and if somebody loses 30 pounds in a month on keto, but then gains 40 pounds back the next month, in 2 months, they've gained 10 pounds while you've lost 4 pounds. So you're -4 and they're +10, right? So it's like, you have to think the long term, because you're right. That is the faster route long term.
Yeah, so true. All right, cool. So let's go more into like applicable things. So someone wants to start, they do want to start working out and eating healthy. They often go together. So what are some tips you have for like before a workout, some good fuel sources, potentially during if they need it, or maybe wanting to know you need to fuel in the middle, and then maybe the end. So let's just start with like, if someone's about to start a workout, like what are some good things you usually recommend for them to eat?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna do a side note because I know it's gonna come next. I would say about, if you can, 60 to 120 minutes before your workout, have 20 to 30 grams of protein and or have 20, 30 grams of carbs. And if you don't want to track calories, that's totally fine. Have about a palm-sized portion of protein and have about a cupped handful of carbs. Again, this could be a Greek yogurt and a banana. This could be quinoa and a palm-sized portion of chicken. Some sort of protein, some sort of carbs, because carbs are the most readily available source of energy and fuel for your body. So if you have carbs 60 to 120 minutes pre-workout, you are going to literally get more fuel in your body for that workout, which is going to boost your workout performance. Now, I will say this. Every single time I say this, people are like, well, wait, I wake up and I work out. Or as soon as I wake up, I don't have time to eat. I don't want to eat. I feel bad. So here's what I'll say to that. Number one, it doesn't have to be anything big. Like some of my clients literally have half a banana before they go work out, and they feel so much better because of the carbs, right? So I'd say if you can, if it's something small, a tangerine, half a banana, even a little protein shake, whatever, have something that's probably going to give you some more fuel. If you can't, or if you really don't want to, I would say if you're the type of person who works out in the morning as soon as they wake up, just make sure your dinner the night before has carbohydrates, which is probably going to freak people out. Because like, no, wait, I can't eat carbs after 7 p.m. It's like, no, it's fine.
Whatever
I promise. And
BS is made. Who wrote that? Who said that?
I have no clue.
I'm sorry.
It was funny because like I just wrote an article on my website about like myths about carbs and stuff. And like, that was actually my first 2 lines. I was like, I have no clue who wrote, like, you can't have like carbs after 7 p.m. But anyway, so no, I totally agree. But so yeah, just make sure your dinner the night before has some sort of quality carbohydrates. And obviously people are like, well, what is a quality carbohydrate source? Again, any kind of fruit, any kind of, white rice, brown rice, quinoa, oatmeal, sweet potato, regular potato. You can have white rice, you can have a regular potato. They're not bad for you. They're great. Don't worry. Like, so any type of more like, I would say just try to get a nutrient dense whole food source of carbohydrate. I wouldn't, if you want to have Twinkies, like you can, but like, that's not going to be the most optimal for your workout performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So that's great. And then, I mean, listen, and I think I think that was actually a really good point. Cause I think what other people might think is, if they don't eat anything before, then they need, actually, I don't know. Sorry. I don't want to, I'm like sidetracking. I have like many.
No, you're good.
I want to ask this question instead. Does the amount that they eat need to be based off of like their activity level or duration? And then how soon after should they eat after their workout?
Great questions. Yeah. So I would say, again, like if you have 20 to 30 grams of carbs pre-workout and you have 20, 30 grams of protein pre-workout, normally, no matter what you're doing, that's going to be a pretty good guideline. Because again, like, yes, individualized, but at the same time, like you might be splitting hairs. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't want you to get too crazy. Like, just have some fruit and have a protein shake. You know what I mean? So I would say yes. But again, like if you're going to do a 6-mile run, like, yeah, like you probably maybe want to have more fuel, or I'm sorry, not even 6 miles, because some people 6 miles is easy. I would die if I did 6 miles, but let's just say you do like a half marathon or something. Like that is obviously, you might want more fuel for that. But in terms of like just a regular 45 to 90 minute workout, 20, 30 grams of carbs, 20, 30 grams of protein, right? So I would say that. And then in terms of after your workout, again, this has been a big thing. And honestly, I fell to this when I was younger, because I was like, well, whatever they say, I gotta get protein right away. I gotta get sugar right away. It's like,
literally.
Listen, yeah, no. Yeah. And
no, like the protein bar or shake would have to be in my gym bag. Sometimes I would go to the gym, buy it before I started my workout. So it was like literally like the second I finished my workout, like I had to have it. Well, I think nowadays, I mean, I don't know if I think it's been like debunked a few times, but like 10 years ago, that was like real. I don't even think the science was there yet to like share that it wasn't true. So we really believed that we had to eat carbs and protein immediately after. Like, and
I'm going to one up you, because like, I vividly remember in my gym, there was a day where I did not have my post-workout, like, because my post-workout was protein and like this like creatine slash sugar. So I was like, oh my God, I don't have my sugar. I'm like, what am I going to do? I literally went to the front desk. I was like, hey, do you guys have like a coffee stand? Like, oh yeah, over there. I got sugar from the coffee stand, like just like dry scooped it. I was like, I got to get sugar because post-workout, like all my gains are gone. I was like, wow. I look back and I'm like, what Jesus, like why? Just why? But yeah. So what I would say is like, listen, like, if you're 4% body fat stepping on a bodybuilding stage, does that matter? Yeah, it probably matters then. But like, if you're just a regular old person, like just again, try to get 20 to 30 grams of carbs post-workout, try to get 20, 30 grams of protein post-workout within 60 to 120 minutes, and you'll be good. And honestly, I will say, yes, it is going to help kickstart your recovery process. It's going to push nutrients to your muscles, going to push all those things. It is going to help your recovery and help you build muscle. But also, normally what happens is if you get done an hour workout or a 90-minute workout where you do strength training and cardio, and you don't eat for 4 hours, you are starving at the 5th hour. So you're going to eat everything because you didn't eat the hour or two after the workout, because again, you just burned up all this fuel and you never replaced it. So, and yes, it's going to help recovery and it's optimal, but at the same time, it's just smart thinking, because like, if not, that could potentially lead to you overeating long-term.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just when we think about practically, like just staying motivated and staying consistent, and if you're not fueling properly and you're either really super sore or, super fatigued and tired, like a lot of times it could just be changing up your nutrition and that could help you. And then you're going to be more motivated to work out,
Yep.
Which actually leads me to the next question, which is, say you are doing all the nutrition things, but yet you're still finding yourself like really, really tired. Like, is there a thing as like training too much, and how does somebody know if they're doing that?
So yeah, and in terms of like actual legit overtraining, like that only happens a handful of times, because like if you are actually overtrained, like you wouldn't be able to get out of bed. And like, because there's like the studies show they're like, you literally would not be able to move like your muscles to walk, right? And that happens very, very often. But in terms of like being over fatigued, absolutely. I would say, especially with people who are like very into working out, most people are more over fatigued than not. And it's actually funny because, again, I wrote an article on my website about like my top 5 beginner tips for strength training. And like one of my things was, recovery is just as important as your workouts. Because if it's one thing, you go in the gym and you literally tear your muscle fibers apart, or whatever cardio you do, like that, you tear yourself down. If you don't build yourself back up, you're never going to build stronger muscles, build more defined muscles, get better at cardio, because you're not allowing yourself to recover. Workouts are half of it, and recovery is half of it. And I don't think a lot of people look at the recovery aspect. And again, 16, 17, 18-year-old Eric was like 7 days a week for 2 hours every single day. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, no days off for sure. And now it's like, wow, like one of the dumbest things I ever did. So I'm definitely not doing that anymore, because now I have two like legit rest days where I'm like, today's a rest day. I'm like, thank God I have a rest day, because I was beat the heck up, right? So rest is very important. I would say here a few things, like, if your recovery, like if you think that your nutrition is on point, like you have all those things in place, I would look at 2 things. Number one, I would look at your workout performance. If you're like just dragging, you're not getting stronger, which we'll probably talk about later, but like you're not getting stronger, you're not getting good pumps in the gym, you don't even want to go work out. You're like, oh my God, I got to go do this. Like, it's probably a good sign you've kind of over fatigued and you've kind of pushed the limits too much. Because if you want to create a change in your body, you obviously you need to put a stress great enough on your body that your body has to adapt to it, right? So you got to push the limits. But if you just keep pushing, your body's going to say, all right, I'm done. Screw you. I'm not doing this anymore. And it's going to fight back, right? So I'd say number one, look at your biofeedback. Look at, are you going into the gym with good energy? Or is your sleep off? Because again, like I've had tons of clients who are like, hey, like, my sleep, because we track every single week. We track like 1 to 10. What is your sleep? If I start to see it go to a 4, 5, 3, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And oftentimes I can see, all right, they've been pushing hard for 6 weeks. Let's take a deload week. And so what I'll say to that is like, number one, track your biofeedback. But also number two, again, when it comes to workout performance, and people I think struggle with this because there's a difference, I think, between exercising and training, right? Because like, you can exercise and it's great, but like when you actually train, you understand, hey, am I getting stronger? Are my weights increasing? Am I doing more reps? Am I doing more sets? Like, or am I just going in and going through the motion? So if you're training and you're tracking those things like reps and sets and weights and all those things, you can see right there, hey, I've hit a plateau. I'm not getting stronger. I'm actually getting weaker. Because I'll use myself as an example. I just went on a little 8-week mini cut, and towards the end of the 8 weeks, my strength was going down a bit. I really didn't feel good. I was super tired, super fatigued. So I was like, all right, listen, like I got to take a deload week. Like I have to take a deload week. And again, going back to old Eric, I would not have taken a deload week, back when I was 17, 18, 19, because I thought rest wasn't important. And if I did, I was going to lose all my gains, which is a big thing. People are like, well, if I rest too much, then, or if I rest and I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, I'm going to lose all my progress. I'm going to get fat again. So it's like, you have to understand it's taking one step back to take 3 steps forward the next time. And again, that long-term thing we talked about, it's like in the long term, that is going to allow you to see better progress. So I would track your workout performance, track your biofeedback. And if those things are telling you, hey, listen, like you needed to step off the gas a bit, that's what I would do. And how do you step off the gas without losing progress? First and foremost, I would say, like myself, for example, I took a week where I still worked out 5 days a week. So I did all my regular workouts, but I did half the volume and I lowered the intensity, right? So let's just say, for example, I was deadlifting with 200 pounds for 10 reps. Let's say, for example, and I was doing 3 sets. When my deload week came around, what I did was I would deadlift 175 pounds for 6 reps for 2 sets. Because that way I'm lowering intensity, lowering volume, and allowing my body to recover. Because if my body is so stressed out and not recovering, if I give it a week to then bump back up and recover, bam, the next week comes around, I'm good to go. So that's what I would say as far as like kind of managing. And again, just like, it's honestly just being conscious of like what's going on. And again, it's very easy to get caught up in everyday life and not knowing what's going on, but it's just like, hey, listen, like literally just journal. How do I feel? Like I'm very, very tired. These past 6 days, I've been very, very, very tired, very moody, bad sleep, bad energy. Oh, by the way, I've been training hard every single day for the past 9 weeks. Probably time to take a deload, right? So that's what in a long-winded answer, that's what I would say.
That was so perfect. And I think super helpful. I hope everyone can hear that. Cause I think when you finally, you think about, especially someone who's new to working out, right? And now they've been working out consistently for like almost 6 months, let's say. And they're just like, but now they're afraid of taking a day off because they're just gotten to the habit of like never missing a day or, working out 5 days a week for the past 6 months. And it's like, what do I do? Like, and so, that's important for, I think, people to hear that it's okay. Like you have permission. And I think you gave a really good example. That doesn't mean you quit. It just means maybe you change up your workouts, you kind of slow down a little bit. Maybe you change up what you do for the workout in general. Like maybe you just need like a little break from, I don't know, the weights for a little bit, and then you're going to go back to it. Right. So I think that's a really, really good point.
I would add this one thing. I'm sorry. Because it randomly just came to my head. Also, I would say on your rest days, can you please rest? Like that's what rest days are for. Like I don't need you to go do a 60-minute soul cycle class where you get your heart rate up to 90% of your target heart rate. That's not resting. You're not letting your body recover, right? So, and again, I think that people think like, no, I got to burn calories still and burn fat and lose body fat. It's like, take a rest. Just chill out. Like it's going to be okay. Like just take that rest day and rest. And like, if you want to go take a leisurely walk or something, great. But like use that time to actually rest. And I promise you long-term, it's going to help you out that much more.
Yeah. And so kind of just, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, it's hard to tell someone who works out all the time to do that. So what did you do when I feel like I think anyone who's really, training and teaching other people about nutrition and fitness and have been doing it for like at least 5 years, like they know that there's a certain point, like their body burnt out and they need to like kind of teach that. But at the same time, like your client, like I have clients that are like, but like they feel anxious or guilty or stressed. Like I just wrote a post about this. Like I used to not be able to skip a day because it would just cause too much anxiety.
Me too.
So what do you do? Like, how do you get through that?
I would say number one, as far as what I do with my clients is education. Like that's the biggest thing is education, like making them understand, which I think is somewhat of a lost art, honestly, for being honest. It's just educating like, hey, listen, like this is why taking a rest day is going to benefit you. It's going to allow you to recover. And then when you go back, you're going to burn more calories. You're going to be able to, you're going to get stronger, which is going to lead to more muscle gain, more strength long-term. So educating on why. But then as far as like what I did, honestly, I had a honest conversation with myself. And I talk about this a lot in my posts as well, but it's like, I was chasing like that feeling, that ego of like, nope, 7 days a week, like no matter what, like no days off, like I'm hardcore, which was getting me no results. So in terms of myself, I was like, do I want to build muscle? Do I want to get stronger? Do I want to change my body? Or do I want to just say I work out 7 days a week? Because those can be two different things, right? So it's like for myself in particular, I had to be honest, which is not very easy, especially when you're at that point where like, no, like I'm consistent. This is what I do. I'm hardcore, but it's like, take a step back and say, are you seeing the results you want? Not only in your body composition change. That's not what matters. In terms of just everything, do you feel the way you want to feel? Or are you always burnt out? Do you feel strong or do you feel weak and fragile? Like what is your results actually telling you? And then from there, again, it's just a matter of, are you chasing results and feeling better, or are you just chasing your ego? Because I can tell you firsthand, my ego's gotten in the way plenty of times. And like, I've had to battle, like, again, like I'm the coach and the expert, whatever, but it's like, no, like to this day, my ego still gets in the way. So it's like, I just had to be honest with myself and ask, like, do you want to see results and feel better? Or are you just stroking your ego? That's basically what I had to do.
Good for you though. That's like, it takes a really strong person to recognize that it's not really serving anybody, because it's putting on this facade that like it's supposed to look like this way, and that it's it's easy to be this way, but you really had that honest conversation with yourself, and you're like, what am I trying to prove? And it's not even helping me. So why am I leading this? Why is this the example that I'm leading by? It's just not effective.
And not only does it not help me, but so I tell my clients this all the time, like, if you're a mom of 3 and you have a spouse and you have a job and you're e-learning right now and you have to teach your kids and but you're trying to do spin class every single day for an hour and then do weights and then do this, but then you're just always burnt out. Well, you're not helping yourself and you're not helping your family as best you could, because you're always burnt out. You're always tired. You're always moody. Like you're not helping anybody. Right. So it's like, you have to be selfish in order to be selfless sometimes, right? Like do things that are going to benefit you, which is going to then make you be able to give 110% to other people, which I think a lot of people are people pleasers and they want to make people happy, which is amazing. But it's like, you got to take care of yourself first.
Yeah. So true. So true. Okay. So let's go on the flip side then. So what do you say to the person who maybe, they've been working out, but they're maybe not seeing results, or they're starting to, lose the motivation, but they still kind of go through the motions and they're still kind of doing things. But like, how does someone know when it's time to maybe kick it up a notch? So maybe they're kind of not really rising to their potential. What does that look like?
3 things came to my mind. Number 1 would be literally just tracking your progress, because what gets tracked gets improved upon. If you track your sleep, you'll probably sleep better. If you track your body fat, it'll probably get better. If you track your mood, it'll probably get better. If you track your finances, you'll probably save more money and do better with your budget. What gets tracked gets improved upon. So if you're just going into the gym, like just going through the motions, just exercising, like we talked about earlier, I would say it's as simple as just writing down what you're doing. That way, like, on Monday, I did these many reps for this weight and for this exercise. The next Monday rolls around, you can look back and say, okay, I did this last time. If I want to see a change in my body, I probably got to do at least a little bit more than that, right? And just being aware, just being conscious, which is tough for a lot of people in this world we live in with all these things coming at us. Just being conscious can make a big thing. So that's number 1. Number 2, I would say, get some form of accountability in the sense of like, whether it's your family, whether it's a coach, whether it's a nutritionist, whether it's a community of people, whether it's posting on Instagram. I have people tell me all the time, like, I made a personal Instagram account who nobody even follows, but I post on there to keep myself accountable. I'm like, I love it. It's freaking amazing. So like, get some form of like, because again, it's hard to be honest and objective of yourself when you have somebody else like kind of looking over you. I think that can help in terms of like really kind of pushing you to like, pushing you to be honest with yourself. It's you still doing it, but somebody else is kind of pushing you to get there. So that's number 2. Number 3, I would say, in terms of what I went back to number 1, saying, hey, you got to do more than what you did last time, and you got to push yourself. Because, obviously, but one of the number 1 questions I get is, how much weight should I lift? And I'm like, well, here's what I'll say to that. Number 1, it's different for everybody, but what is heavy for me is not heavy for you, and what's heavy for you on legs is different for me. So it's like, it's all different. But number 2, here's what I tell people. I say, hey, listen, you have to go within 1 to 3 reps of failure to in order to kind of push yourself. And that's where you should be. But then people are like, well, I don't really know what failure is. Like, I'm doing a squat, but like failure, like, yeah, my muscles are burning, but could I probably do 10 more? So here's what I would say. This is just like a simple thing I try to tell my clients too. It's like, find a way to safely replicate failure, whether that is literally going on the street and sprinting literally as hard as you can for whatever seconds, but like, that's true failure. You know what true failure feels like, whether it's going into the gym, going to the squat rack, setting up those bars on the bottom to where like, if you fail, the bar will just stop there. You won't get injured. You won't drop the weight, whatever, and just go to failure. Just I put half of the weight. Don't put your 1 rep max, but if you can squat 100 pounds, put 30 pounds on the bar and go to failure. And that way, okay, I remember, I now know I literally could not stand up from my squat. And again, I'm not saying do that every single time, but now okay, now I know about, okay, if I'm at this rep for these weights, I probably know if I'm within 1 to 3 reps of failure, this is about what I would do. But you don't know that unless you go through that kind of hitting that failure point and knowing what that really feels like. And I think that, again, safely, please, God, don't get injured and sue me, but like safely replicate that and like find out what that feels like to then be able to push yourself to those limits. So I would say that, and again, to kind of like an applicable thing, if you get done a set of 10 reps and you think like, I probably could have done 5 or 10 more if I really pushed myself, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. If you get done that 10th rep and you're like, wow, those 8th, 9th, and 10th reps, those were difficult. Okay, cool. You're probably about in a good range. So that's what I would say.
That's a good rule of thumb, I think, for sure. I feel like, yeah. And then at the same time though, do you think every workout should look like that or some work? I'm just wondering, I feel like if, I don't know, either people are maybe on the one side, not pushing enough, and on the other, I don't know if they know what the middle is.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I would say, no, I think it's like, it's a great conversation.
Because I also don't want people to now feel pressure to like, feel like every time they work out, it should be killing them the last, I mean, unless you think that is how it should be. I don't know.
So here's what I'll say. Again, like going back to, if you want to change your body, you got to put a stress great enough on your body to adapt to. But I think people get in the sense of like, oh, okay, well, I lifted 100 pounds on squats for 10 last week. That means this week I got to do 150. It's like, no. Like you do realize like you can do 100 pounds for 11 reps and like that's still progress, right? So it's I think that first and foremost, you don't have, it's like you could do one more rep on one more set of the entire workout. The rest of the workout is completely the same, but you're still doing more than last time. So that's still putting a stress on your body great enough. Your body's going to have to respond to. So I'd say number one, that. Number two, I would say that's where kind of following a structured program where, again, so for example, if I'm going to program a workout for my client, I'll say, hey, listen, week 1, we're at the 3 reps in reserve, right? So basically you get done a set and you have 3 reps left in the tank. Week 2, we're going to have 3 reps as well. Week 3, we're going to have 2 reps left in the tank. And then week 4, you're going to have 1 rep left in the tank. Really push yourself. Week 5, we have a deload. Week 1, we have 3 reps left. Week 2, so it's like you have to be able to wave these kind of like intensities and stuff, because again, no, you can't just be able to push yourself 24/7 all the time or you're going to get burnt out. But that's why I like the tactic of week 1 on a new program, kind of ramp yourself, get used to the movements. Week 2, ramp up a bit. And then week 3 and week 4, push yourself, man. Like, let's see some progress, lift heavier, do more reps, push yourself. Week 5, you're probably going to around, I would say week 5 to 6, you're going to need a deload, take your deload, do less reps, do less weight, and then go back and restart that process.
Yeah, this is so good. All right. So one more question I have for you.
Yeah.
What do you think, when should someone, what you just described as following a fitness program, when should someone follow a fitness program? And do you think everyone should follow a fitness program, or do you think it's better to, when is it, maybe a fitness program isn't a good fit and maybe they should just, follow some workouts that, they see on like, the Peloton app or, go to a class or something like that. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. It's another great question. Here's what I'll say. In the same way people ask me, hey, should I meal prep? I'm like, meal prep is just like, you literally just like plan out your food. It doesn't have to be, you have chicken and broccoli in your containers with asparagus. It's like, that's not what meal prep is. Like, it's literally
this needs to come out January 1st. Like, this has to come out. I gotta look at my calendar. Like, you're saying all the right things.
I love it. But again, like, meal prep doesn't mean you go like balls to the walls. Like, you have to make it this certain way. It's like, just have a plan for what you're doing. Please have a plan. I think the same thing with a fitness routine. Like, is it a good, you basically said, is it a good idea to have a plan? Yes. I think everybody should have a plan. That plan doesn't have to be going to the gym for an hour and doing an hour of weights. Like, that doesn't have to be what your plan is. The plan could be, I'm going to do 10 squats at lunch and then 10 push-ups at dinner. That's my fitness routine. That's my plan. But it's like, again, you have a plan as opposed to just like going willy-nilly and like, and again, having a plan in anything, I think is a good idea. So I think everybody and anybody, it doesn't have to, again, going back to it's individualized. It doesn't have to be the same for every single person. But yes, I think everybody should have a plan, because not only is that going to allow you to see better results, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, allow you to see better results, but also I think it gives you more of like the, something Jordan talks about a lot, like bright lines. It's like, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. This is my plan, as opposed to, all right, well, I guess I'll go do a Zumba class today, or like maybe I'll do spin. It's like, oh, you know what? Like, screw it. I don't feel like doing anything. I'll just do it again tomorrow. But it's like, no, like I know again, these days, these times, I'm doing this workout for these exercises and these reps. It's like, it's very bright. It's very like, hey, this is how it is. It's not in the gray, very black and white. So I like that for people as well, because I think people like structure. Like no matter what, you like structure in your life. You like a routine. So I think again, long-winded answer, I think yes is the answer to your question.
No, yeah. So good. You've said so many great gems in here. I'm so excited for people. Guys, I'm curious what your takeaways are. So if you're listening to this episode, take a screenshot of it, share it on your story, tag me, tag Eric. Let me know what you learned. And definitely please share this with someone that you care about. There were so many nuggets in there, and for so many different types of people, whether you're just starting out with working out, whether you're, potentially overtraining, learning about how to fuel your body properly. There was just so many great nuggets in there. Oh my God. Eric, is there anything else you want to share or talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about today?
Honestly, no, I honestly, this was fun for me. As you can tell, like I like when I talk to people like you, I get very amped up. So like, I appreciate you kind of letting me rant. The one thing I would say is if this is going to come out around like January 1st or whatever, it's like, I'd say two things. Number one, just like keep in perspective how good your life is. As much as 2020 kind of sucked, like, again, if you're listening to this podcast, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can see and you're able to move your body, you're able to eat. Yeah, exactly. You're hearing this right now. And again, people are like, well, working out is hard and it's difficult and like eating healthy is hard. It's like, listen, totally get it. But like, you do know there are some people who do not they literally cannot eat healthy because their food around them, they does not allow that. So it's like, I would just like kind of keep perspective. And then number 2, kind of like what you said already, it's like, for this new year, if you do want to make some change, please set small, attainable goals. Please do not go gung-ho crazy. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to cut out all my sugar. Like, because that is not, it's not going to lead to what you want. I had a conversation with one of my clients I just signed up who she's lost 100 pounds 4 different times. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, and I said, why do you think that? She's like, well, I'll tell you what, when I'm on, baby. There's no cheating. I'm like, do you think that's the thing? And she's like, dang it. Like, okay, like, all right. I'm like, this time around, like, I don't care if you go over your calories. It's not the end of the world. If you go out to eat on New Year's and you go over your calories, it's not the end of the world, because you can't let one day turn into the one weekend, turn into the 1 week, turn into the 1 month. Just get right back on track and you will be fine. So that's the 2 things I would say probably.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Where can people find you, connect with you, follow you on social? Yes. Your blog sounds great. You said you just wrote an article. You've said that a couple times throughout here. Yeah. So where can people read those?
Yeah, so it's funny because like so my blog is on my website, ericrobertsfitness.com. That's where I write my articles. I thoroughly enjoy writing articles, and like it's funny because when I was in school, I hated school. So like when I was in school, like I didn't want to do the work. So I was like, all right, like if I'm a good writer, like I could probably just get like a B or a C and like it'll be fine. So like now I'm like, all right, cool, writing 4,000 words in an hour, like blah, 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 like sweet. Yeah. All right, so it's on my website. I thoroughly enjoy doing those. I have a YouTube channel as well, so it should just be Eric Roberts on YouTube. I have a podcast as well, Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast, should be in there. I enjoy long form content, and it's funny because I'm about to say like I don't even know how many followers I have on TikTok, because I honestly TikTok is still like foreign to me, even though like I'm the quote unquote expert, whatever. I honestly have no clue. But so I have these like TikTok and Instagram which are both Eric Roberts Fitness, just at Eric Roberts Fitness. But I thoroughly enjoy like the more long, like this conversation, the more long form, because I think people can really get more value from it. So those are kind of like my five platforms there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'll definitely link your website and your Instagram in the show notes. And then guys, definitely follow him on YouTube and TikTok and all of those things. I don't think I follow you on YouTube or TikTok, so I'm going to subscribe.
Perfect.
Right when we hang up. Thank you so much. Guys, definitely go give this guy a follow. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy 1 bite at a time.